Hello and welcome to Kinda Keto with Donna. Today I'm going to make a little special quiche I have not done in a really long time. So check it out with me. So I had some leftover beef and didn't want another hamburger, and I was thinking, what can I use the beef for? Just like a half a pound. And I thought about making it with some eggs. You have steak and eggs. So I thought about scrambling some eggs with it. So I was kind of going through some ideas and some recipes and stuff, and it came across bacon cheeseburger quiche. Ha ha! So what do you think of that idea? I've never done a bacon cheddar burger quiche. I have done quiches in the past, but with pretty much starting low carb and keto, I have a lot of eggs in the morning, so I just, I'm not going to have eggs in the morning and then have it for lunch or brunch, but just haven't done quiche that much. So, there's all these crustless quiches, but I'm telling you, what is a quiche without the crust? Really? So, tell me in the comments, what do you think? Is quiche should have crust or not? I think it should. So it's a few more carbs, of course, per slice, and I will give you a breakdown at the end, but I like the idea of crust. So I haven't done a crust in a while, but I have saved a recipe from Nom Nom for the best keto crust. And apparently it's for savory or sweet, so I am going to make that today. So I'm going to make mine early, still do it the same day, but I'll make mine early, and then because you have to blind bake the crust, and if you're not a baker, that just means that you need to bake the crust first, and then you put your fillings and stuff in. It's very common with custardy types of cakes and quiches and that kind of thing, or pies and tarts, that kind of thing. So I'm going to do that, and then you got to let it cool completely before you do all the egg mixture. So I've got onions on hand. So we've got onions and beef and cheese and eggs. I think I got it all right here. Okay, I'm going to do this in the food processor. And I've already put in 1 cup of the almond flour and 5 tablespoons of the coconut flour. Okay, and now I'm going to add just a half a teaspoon of xanthan gum, and then half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Okay, so I got a little ahead of myself, and I put the egg in by accident already, so I hope I didn't mess this up. But do not put the egg in yet. Now is the time that you're going to put 3.5 ounces of unsalted, preferably grass-fed butter, very cold. When I've done other pie crusts before, I've done cubed. So I always cube my butter and put it back in the fridge, and it stays colder. And then also a 1/4 cup of cream cheese, which is also considered 2 ounces, also very cold, and I just cubed that as well. Okay, now is the time to add in that 1 egg that's already lightly beaten and 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. Okay, now pulse until the dough just begins to come together, but stop before it forms into a ball. Like with any other pastry dough, make sure not to over-process the dough. Turn the dough out onto some saran wrap and then kind of mush it together and pat it into a round. Okay, it needs to refrigerate at least 1 hour. That's why I'm making this earlier in the day. But you can leave it in the fridge for up to 3 days if you want to make it ahead of time. Okay, finally found, I've been looking all over. Finally found I knew I had gotten an actual quiche pan, so it's a nice deep quiche pan, and the bottom comes out, so it should release pretty easily, I hope. Anyway, so after I rolled it out and put it in the pan, I went ahead and pricked it with a little fork, pricked the bottom so it doesn't puff up, and then put it back in the fridge for about 30 minutes. So now I lined it with some parchment paper, and I had some old bag of beans,
that I used to use this for blind baking. And he had 2 different recipes and they had 2 different temperatures. So one said 400, one said 390. So I'm going to start it at 390 and we'll go from there.
Okay, you're going to need a half a pound of the ground beef, about 3 slices of bacon. He calls for 6 eggs, so I've got 6 eggs here, and half of an onion, and calls for cheddar, but I've got Mexican on hand, so I think that's about a cup. And then I'm going to do a mixture. Different recipes have different things, so I'm going to do it this way, where it's half almond milk and half heavy whipping cream, and then a little unsweetened ketchup, a little Worcestershire sauce, salt, pepper, and if you don't have it, I'm sure it's fine, you skip it, but a little bit of ground mustard. I'm going to go ahead and do it how she has it. You know, mustard goes well with burgers too. And I'm just sauteing my onions in about a teaspoon of the leftover bacon grease. And doing it just, for about 5 minutes until translucent. And then we'll throw the meat in. And threw a little salt and pepper in there. And now we're ready for the meat. Remember, it's only a half a pound. Can't fit a whole pound in that little quiche thing. So we're just gonna cook this till it's brown. See you in a few minutes. Okay, it's done cooking. I drained it, and you're gonna take it off the heat. And we've got 3 tablespoons of the ketchup. I'm gonna mix in there, and just 1 tablespoon of the Worcestershire sauce. We're just going to mix that up and set that to the side and start making the egg mixture. And then it's time to put it all together. What an interesting recipe. I'm so curious and excited about it. Hi, setting up my camera for my overhead shot for the eggs. Stay tuned. Okay, this recipe, if I hadn't mentioned, is from Cupcakes and Kale Chips. So it's a bacon cheeseburger crustless quiche, which is why I added the crust. So there's one little tweak I'm going to do, which I'll show you in a second. So I've got 6 eggs. Maybe I shouldn't have picked a yellow bowl, huh? So I got my 6 eggs ready. She calls for a half a cup of milk. Boy, there's been a big difference between recipes of how much milk and all that. So I'm going to use a half a cup together total. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of the almond milk, like I said I was going to use earlier, and just a 1/4 cup of the heavy whipping cream, and hope that that's going to work out okay. So just that, and then your spices, and everything is a half a teaspoon. So I've got a half a teaspoon of salt. So the ground mustard, if you've got it. Now, I'm going to go a little bit less on the pepper. I swear, every time I see 1 dimension for salt, it's always half of that for pepper. So I'm going to just do a 1/4 for pepper. You like it pepperier? Is that a word? Pepper? Then you go ahead and put more pepper in. And we're just going to whisk that up. We're almost ready about putting it together. Okay, now her recipe has the oven at 400 degrees, but it's crustless, so I don't want to get this too much more brown on the sides there. So I'm doing 350. I see a lot of recipes that have 350, so I'm going to go with that. And so we're doing the beef and onion mixture on the bottom. The other thing is some recipes had 4 eggs, some recipes had 6 to 8 eggs, so we'll see how high it goes on here. Okay, and then the cup of cheese. So whatever cheese you're using, I'm using, like I said, my little mix. What's great about quiches, you can use so much stuff. Veggies and meat and cheese and fancy cheese. Gruyere is really great for this type of thing. Okay, and then the bacon. And that's why it's only, like if you had a quiche Lorraine or something, if it wasn't a ham and cheese, if you did bacon, they would call for a lot more bacon. And this is only 3 strips because we have all this meat and beef, so we don't need that much bacon. And here we go. 6 eggs. And I've got a pie crust shield that I found at the bottom of my cabinets. Oh, doing pretty good here. That I am going to put on. Otherwise, because it's already getting a little dark, put a little. Ooh, 6 is lovely. See, I like a nice deep pie. That's why I went with the. I knew I had this deep pan. That's why I wanted to go with the 6 eggs. I was pretty sure that was going to work. Oh, boy, I can't wait. So I'm going to start it off at a half an hour and check it at a half an hour. Well, while that's in the oven, I thought I'd go over some of the macros with you. According to the cheeseburger, bacon cheeseburger quiche without a crust, it's supposed to be 8 servings, and each of those servings, according to Cupcakes and Kale Chips, is 197 calories. Well, that's not much at all. And 3 carbs. I don't see if it's total or net, but I imagine, because really a lot of those are low carb ingredients, I bet you that's total. I did not put that through my carb manager. Now, if you wanted to add the crust like I'm doing, okay, for the crust recipe, which is from Nom Nom, I ran it through the carb manager. So for 8 slices, just like the quiche, it would be 6 total carbs minus 3 fiber if you do net. So that would be 3 net carbs per slice if you get 8 slices out of it. And that's a pretty tall one. But if you get 6 slices out of it, to me, a pie is 6 slices, but we'll see what it looks like when I cut into it. But if you do 6 slices, it is 8 total carbs, which turns into 4 net carbs per serving. So for 1 extra net carb, I'm probably going to get the bigger slice. So, of course, that's up to you. Or it's still only 2 total carbs more if you're going to do 6 slices instead of 8 slices. So there you go. You have information now. You are armed with your information. Do with it what you will. Man, that is looking good. I checked it at 30 minutes. I thought it was still just a little bit soft, so I just did another 10 minutes. So I think that's going to be my time. 350 degrees for 40 minutes. I'm going to let this cool a little bit and see if it falls apart when I take the bottom out of the... It's one of those pans where the bottom is separate, so I've got to push it up. If it's not a quiche in a nice looking pie, it's going to be a quiche cobbler. Well, it didn't come out perfect. Did get stuck, but nowhere it said to spray or oil the pan, so I'm definitely going to do that next time. But it didn't completely fall apart. I kind of loosened it up a little bit. So here's me and my husband's. Got a little pretty strawberries there for a good side. You can do a salad as a side, maybe some green beans. I'm going to do a little avocado today. That one's going to be mine. Okay, so here it is. I thought it came out pretty darn good. Had a little trouble, but it didn't fall apart, so that's good. Just have to be patient. And like I said, if it was cobbler, then it would have been cobbler. But I think it looks really, really pretty. And let's just see the concept of a bacon cheddar burger quiche. Oh, that's kind of fun. Definitely taste the onions. Don't taste really that ketchup. I was concerned about that. That is definitely a winner. Now I know the crust looks a little dark on the edges there, but underneath and everything is really, really flaky. This is a great recipe. I have used that before, the Nom Nom recipe. So there you go. If you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. What do you like in your quiches if you make quiches? And consider subscribing. Well, until next time, check out one of my other videos.